This is a guide to understanding the National Peace and Reconciliation Commission in Zimbabwe. About the National Transitional Justice Working Group. The National Transitional Justice Working Group, NTJWG, is a platform established by 46 Zimbabwean organizations representing various transitional justice stakeholders to provide the interface between the transitional justice stakeholders and the official transitional justice processes in Zimbabwe. The vision: a peaceful, just, accountable, and democratic society. Our mission: to create inclusive space for the coordination of transitional justice stakeholders, share experiences, build synergies for comprehensive, accountable, victim-centered, and participatory transitional justice processes in Zimbabwe. Our values: integrity, inclusivity, and impartiality. Disclaimer: this guide is not an official document from the National Peace and Reconciliation Commission. This guide is an informational document and should not be considered in any way as a binding legal document. The purpose of this guide is to describe in simple language the law and processes governing the National Peace and Reconciliation Commission, with the aim to make it more accessible to the general public. The contents of this book will include acknowledgements, foreword about this guide. Chapter 1. What is the NPRC? Chapter 2. Which law regulates the NPRC? Chapter 3. What exactly is the mandate of the NPRC? Chapter 4. How does the NPRC work? Chapter 5. What is the duration of the NPRC? Chapter 6. How does the NPRC make reports and recommendations? Chapter 7. How are the NPRC commissioners appointed? Chapter 8. How do I approach the NPRC? Chapter 9. Where does the NPRC get resources and personnel? Chapter 10. Who are the NPRC stakeholders? Annexure 1. NPRC Commissioner's biography. Annexure 2. Director of CSOs working on the NPRC. Annexure 3. Constitution. Extract on the NPRC. Acknowledgements. The National Transitional Justice Working Group, NTJWG, acknowledges support given by the various stakeholders during the development of this guide. Special thanks go to the Secretariat of the NTJWG, which is the Zimbabwe Human Rights NGO Forum. This guide would not have been successful without the generous support of our funding partners. For feedback and information in this guide, we are grateful to the stakeholders who read through the draft guide and gave valuable input. Finally, we owe it to the thousands of victims who have requested for the simplified guide. It is their enduring hope for healing which keeps us on our feet. Forward. On 22 May 2013, President Robert Mugabe signed into the law the new Constitution of Zimbabwe, following a long constitutional reform process dating as far back as 1999. One of the key features of this constitution is Chapter 12, which establishes 5 independent commissions supporting democracy. The Commission represents the efforts of many organizations, including churches, victim groups, non-governmental organizations, NGOs, and international organizations that have been clamoring for a commission to help the Zimbabwean society come to terms with its violent past. It represents the hopes of many victims and survivors of past human rights violations that truth, justice, healing may see the light of day. The successes and failures of the NPRC are still to be seen, but what is clear is that an important conversation has already started. The success of the NPRC depends on the goodwill of individuals, groups, communities, and more importantly, the political will of the government. This guide to understanding the NPRC is the NTJWG's contribution to ensuring that the NPRC is visible, its purpose understood and supported by all. This guide is simply to use and understand, written in plain language. The guide is a valuable resource for civic education, community leaders and facilitators, schools, survivors of human rights violence, human rights defenders, lawyers, lawmakers, and anyone who wants to understand the NPRC and its work in Zimbabwe. We hope you will find this guide useful. Mushadehama Alec, Mr. NTJWG Chairperson. About this guide. Zimbabwe's Constitution of 2013 establishes the National Peace and Reconciliation Commission with an overarching mandate to realize post-conflict justice, peace, healing, and reconciliation. This guide seeks to promote public education on the NPRC. The main goal of this guide is to ensure that citizens have access to relevant, complete, timely, and understandable information about the NPRC. Specifically, the guide intends to increase citizens' awareness of the mandate, duties, and responsibilities of the NPRC, motivate communities and citizens to participate in NPRC programs, assist and encourage victims and survivors to participate in NPRC programs, and raise and improve national visibility of the NPRC. To achieve that, this publication offers step-by-step guidance to citizens, communities, and stakeholders with the much-needed information about the NPRC. It does so by answering the 10 basic questions about the NPRC, which are formulated as separate chapters. This publication, therefore, serves as guidance for citizens to engage effectively with the ongoing processes, to address past human rights violations, securing peace, and fostering healing and reconciliation in Zimbabwe.